These are the top 8 easiest ways to avoid negative feedback on eBay. Make sure to stick around for number 7 because it's the most important tip that I can give you. What's up everyone, Paul here from dropshippingtitans.com, where I teach regular people just like you how to start their own successful dropshipping stores. You know, when I started my first eBay store in early 2017, I was pretty obsessed with keeping it as perfect as possible, and that meant avoiding all negative feedback. Well, that turned out to be a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it because eventually eBay gave me the freedom to quit my job, and now I'm traveling around the country full time. So I do know a lot about avoiding negative feedback, and I want to share some of my top tips with you today so you can achieve the same kind of freedom. So let's get right into tip number 1 here. So tip number 1 that I have for you is to just avoid crappy items. There are some items that are just so bad that when customers get them, they're just going to leave you negative feedback. So for example, my first year selling on eBay, about 6 months in, I hit on a product that I thought was a gold mine because I just started selling a ton of them really fast. Well, fast forward 2 weeks, I started getting a bunch of negative feedback and a lot of messages from really upset customers. What happened? Well, I was selling a bottle of liquid soap. And for many of those customers, that soap bottle was damaged in transit, so they were receiving in the mail from UPS a soggy box. It was not a good situation. So avoid anything that might easily break in transit, such as liquids like that. And also, when you're sourcing your items, look at the reviews on your supplier's website. If customers have left a lot of negative reviews for that item, don't list it up for sale. It's not worth it. Yes, you might get a bunch of sales up front, but the customers are just going to complain and you might have to do a return or a refund anyway. So tip number 1, avoid crappy items. So tip number 2 is deceptively simple, but it does work. And it's just to ask the buyer not to leave you negative feedback. Every time we get an order now on our eBay store, we send out a message right away that tells them, hey, if you have any problems with your order, if the item's not shipping out on time, if the tracking number's not working, if there's a problem with the delivery, send us a message right away and we're going to resolve it for you. Please do that before you leave negative feedback. And as soon as the item is delivered, we send out a very similar message that says, hey, your order should have been delivered by now, but if there are any problems, if you didn't receive your item, if there's a problem with the item, please send us a message. We are going to resolve it for you, and please do that before you leave negative feedback. And you'd be surprised how well that works. As soon as we started doing that, we saw a dramatic drop in the number of negative feedback that we receive. So you can either do that manually every time you receive an order by sending out those messages yourself, or you can have software that does it. So for instance, the API version of AutoDS does it, or you can just search on Google for any software that will help you with feedback on eBay because it's going to know when to send out those messages automatically for you. Tip number 3 is for you to just ship your items out on time. This is the number 1 reason why people get fearful using eBay and the number 1 reason why people will leave negative feedback before they even receive the item because they're afraid of being scammed on eBay. Now, eBay does kind of have this reputation as a marketplace where it's easy to get scammed as a buyer. So when people see that their item hasn't shipped out on time, a lot of people start to get nervous very quickly. So make sure you do ship your item out on time. So if you're a drop shipper, then as soon as you get your orders, you should be doing this every single day or multiple times a day. Go and fulfill all those orders. Make sure your supplier is shipping them out. If you're not a drop shipper, then obviously make sure that you get those items shipped out within your handling and shipping times so that the buyer doesn't freak out and leave you negative feedback, or just add something else to the pot for them to be mad about in case something else goes wrong later. So tip number 3, make sure to ship your items out on time. Tip number 4 is to smash the like button. You know, it's been confirmed by a developer at eBay that you are 62.4% less likely to receive negative feedback if you smash the like button on this video. Okay, but let's get serious here. Just like I asked you for positive feedback in the form of a thumbs up on this video, you should also be asking your buyers for positive feedback on your eBay store. See what I did there? Okay, so let me ask you a question here. Why are you trying to avoid negative feedback in the first place? When I first started selling on eBay, like I said, I was trying to keep my feedback score at exactly 100%. After all, I thought that would boost consumer confidence so more people would buy from me. And I also thought that, maybe 100% feedback will somehow help the eBay algorithm, just like a thumbs up on this video will help the YouTube algorithm. But here's a secret. Over time, it's very, very difficult, if not almost impossible, to maintain your score at exactly 100%. You're going to start seeing an increase in sales, and trying to make every single one of those buyers happy is just going to become more and more difficult. So eventually, I just let go. I said, I don't need to have 100% positive feedback. I'm going to do the best that I can, but if it's not exactly 100%, that's okay. But what I could do was kind of burn the wick from both ends. Avoid as much negative feedback as I could, while also trying to gain as much positive feedback as I could, so that all those few negative feedback that I did receive would quickly be buried by an overwhelming amount of positive feedback. And what really helps you get more positive feedback is just asking your customers for more positive feedback. So again, you can use the same messaging services that I explained in tip number 2. Use those, and those will help you gain even more positive feedback to keep your score up, even if you do get a few of those sporadic negative feedbacks. So tip number 6 is to provide outstanding customer service. When you're selling on eBay, problems will arise. They happen all the time. But if you're able to mitigate those problems by providing good customer service, it's greatly going to reduce the number of negative feedback that you're going to receive. So I remember the first time that I really experienced this. I had an item that I sold, and unfortunately, when I went to fulfill the order, it was out of stock. So I started sending the customer messages, telling them, I'm really sorry, this item, we no longer have it available. I found this other item, it's a little bit more money, but do you want that one instead? Or you can wait till the item comes back in the stock. What can I do to make this right for you? And the customer said, wow, I've never had someone go above and beyond like you have. And, I'm just going to ask to cancel the order at this time, but I'm still going to leave you positive feedback because you've done such amazing customer service, and I really appreciate that. So if you're doing the right thing, if you're providing good customer service, and a big part of that is making sure you have a set scripts that you can use to help you answer customer messages so you can answer them quickly. All these things are important for avoiding negative feedback. So tip number 6 is to provide outstanding customer service. Now, tip number 7 is actually my number 1 tip, and that's to upload your tracking numbers. It's so simple to do, but it's the most important thing that you can do to avoid negative feedback or complaints from buyers. Like I said before, people want to make sure that when they order an item, they are not going to be scammed, that they are actually going to receive their item. And the number 1 thing that you can do to boost the confidence of your buyers so that they do believe that they are going to receive the item and you're not trying to scam them is to get them their tracking number as fast as possible. So it is critical that once the item ships out, you get that tracking number and upload it to eBay so that you can fulfill tip number 7, which is to upload your tracking numbers to avoid negative feedback. And now we finally made it to tip number 8, and this one's a little bit of a bonus tip because the tip is to learn how to remove negative feedback that you do receive. So negative feedback's going to happen, you're going to get it, so you need to learn how to remove it once you get it. And for that, I have a really great video you guys should check out by clicking right here. It's going to go over my top methods for removing negative feedback when you do get them. So make sure to click this video, and I'll see you there in just 1 second.